Good morning. If you're seeing this, I'm running just a little bit behind, but I'm getting all my gear set up. And part of the reason why I'm running behind is because I did have to do a bit of a technology check this morning just to make sure that we are simulcasting to both Twitch and to YouTube. And I'm not seeing any error messages so far. So I'm going to take that to mean that we're doing okay. So give me just a moment while I get everything set up, and we will go on our hike at North Mountain Park at the 7th Avenue Trailhead. That seems to be working, so I'm going to go ahead and get all of this set up. It's just going to take me another minute or two. So, I don't know if there's anybody watching or not, but if there's not, no big deal. If there is, I apologize for the slight delay. Good. And good there. All right, that's good. And just two more things, I promise. All right. Should be good here. Oh, I'm gonna back that up. Let's check to see if everything is where it needs to be. I think we're good. All right. Now let's check that again. Good. All right. I think I do need to make a slight adjustment. That's what we needed. Hello there. Little cactus run over next to me. Okay, I think we're good. Okay. Well, thank you for your patience. And we're going to get started on our hike here in just a moment. I'm heading through the parking area. Just want to make sure that I'm not keeping anybody's vehicles in view or any of that kind of stuff. Try to respect people's privacy as best I can before I get to the trail. In fact, what I'll do for now is just go ahead and put that up. There we go. Just so that we can respect people's privacy. And so for today's hike, we're going to be looking at geology. We're going to be looking at some flora and fauna, specific cacti, and also seeing how close we can get to the very top. But this way you'll be able to see all the things that we're looking at. I'm going to be providing you with some links to the iNaturalist website. You can download their app. I'll give you that information here shortly. But you're going to really learn some interesting geology about this space. Some things that might be surprising, considering that we're in the desert. Yep. I think we just broke. I think we did. No, that's why we have new parts being printed.
You be around it all?
So, we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to do something that's just going to be handheld for this hike. Bear with me a moment. I'm going to go ahead and make an adjustment here. Okay, good, good. Yep, we broke, but that's okay. We can still move forward. Give me just one moment. To stay in my bag. You know what? We're going to walk back to the car. And I'm going to go ahead and leave this stuff. Since I can't use the equipment, as the phone holder snapped because of the weight. And that's just because this is parts that are not quite designed for this. So I'm getting new parts created that are specifically for this system so that it can be hands-free. So this hike is not going to be hands-free, but that's okay. It'll be a little challenging, but it'll still be fun. Bear with me a moment. We're going to do a little bit more walking than I anticipated, but that's also why I'm here, is to get some exercise. Okay, setting that back, this back. Don't need the harness anymore. This is just how it goes sometimes, especially when you're trying to do something new. Things just get snagged or broken. We learn and we move forward. This guy. And that guy. I'm wondering, because I've already put it through a previous hike if it was already a little bit weakened. It's entirely possible. A little bit of wind all of a sudden. You can probably hear that. But anyway, give me just another moment or two, and we'll be on the trail, and you'll be able to look at some really interesting geology. And possibly some different birds and various different cacti. All the things that we just talked about. All right. Oh, the other thing I need to do real quick is get my heart rate monitor set up. So we're going to do that in just a second.
You guys come on over if you want to do it live.
There it is. Wow, I already got 124 beats per minute. Okay, so that's on. Let's get everything else set up. Just one moment. Okay, that's good. Connection set up, we're good there, great. I think we are just about ready to go. Yep, I think we're good. Okay, good. All right. Finally, let's do some hiking. All right, welcome to North Mountain Park, the 7th Ave Trailhead in Phoenix, Arizona. It is a beautiful Saturday, March 1st, 2025, and I'm Kyle Wagner. I'm going to be your guide on this hike through North Mountain. Going to be talking about geology, going to be talking a little bit about the native flora and fauna here. You're going to be able to discover a little bit more about those, learn how to use the iNaturalist app, and then we'll introduce you a little bit to the Seek app so that you can also do some citizen science. So let's get started. First I want to give you kind of a layout of the area. So this is North Mountain here. And then a little bit north of us is Shaw Butte. And so Shaw Butte is actually a little bit taller than North Mountain. And I'll give you a little bit more information about that. But just to give you kind of a sense of where we're at, let me go ahead and pull up the map box. You can see where we're located. All right. Well, okay, so this is basically the very end of 7th Avenue as it gets into this space, but yeah, I can still give you a little bit more information about it. If you were taking Peoria Avenue and you were heading as far east as you can go from the I-17, it will end at a turnoff to the 7th Ave Trailhead, and so that's where we're located right now. So we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of hiking, but you're going to be looking a little bit at this whole area, and we're going to learn a little bit about the different plants and animals here. You might hear some calls, distinct calls in the background, and those are going to be for Gamble quail. So, let's get started. And one of the things that's really kind of interesting in this space is that this hiking trail has multiple different pathways, and one of them goes right between Shaw Butte and North Mountain. And when you get to the center of that area, it seems like you're out in the middle of the desert, but actually you're completely surrounded by the Phoenix metro area. So even though it seems like you're out in the middle of the desert, you're in fact still completely in the city. That just can give you some idea of how much the kind of sprawl that we have here of our overall city area. Anyway, as I'm walking on this trail, we're going to be coming across a few different species of cacti that are going to be different types of cholla, hedgehog cactus, barrel cactus, and a few others. But then there's also creosote bush. There's a few other different things that we might find out here, including saltbush. And here's a good example right here. So this is a particular kind of cholla that you see all throughout the Sonoran Desert, and certainly even in the Metro Phoenix area. And this is called buckthorn cholla. And this particular variety of buckthorn cholla that we have in the Phoenix area, when it blooms, the blooms are kind of a yellowish orange, kind of a mustardy yellow. Still really pretty. But one of the other things that is interesting is that those cholla buds are harvested as food by tribal communities such as the Tohono O'odham. And those unopened cholla buds are then dried while the thorns are removed, and then they're put in dry storage so that they can be rehydrated later, and used in anything from salads to salsas and pretty much anything in between. And if I recall correctly, they're very high in vitamin A, so good stuff there. But the word that is used to describe them by the Tohono O'odham, if I remember correctly, is Chiolim. And it's actually spelled C-I-O-L-I-M. And so if you go online and you search for them, you might even be able to find some companies that even sell the pre-dried Chiolim. You can try them in your next salad, or maybe you can even pickle them. Replacement for artichoke hearts, maybe. So, yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and point you forward a little bit more. And I don't think I have anybody behind me, but I wanted to make sure that I was far enough ahead that I'm not worried about anybody's face coming into view, because again, I want to try to respect people's privacy. But anyway, yeah, as we're walking through the trail, here is a small example of creosote bush, also known as chaparral. And these are the bushes that let off a really interesting kind of a desert must that is very distinctive of the smell that you might smell when you have rain in the desert. And if you want to know what that smell is like, you can actually come up to one of these plants, come up and hold the leaves just very delicately. And unfortunately, these guys are definitely parched. But you can breathe on it, and it'll give you some of that smell. So here's another thing to look at is I want to focus specifically on this mountain range, because one of the things that's really surprising is that the Phoenix Mountains are much older than you might expect. It's estimated that they began as a volcanic platform about 1.7 billion years ago. That's billion with a B. And when that was happening, this whole range was actually underwater. So it was a submarine volcanic system at that time that these mountains began forming. And here's the other thing that's really interesting is that, well, the Phoenix Mountains consist of several different mountains. I'm going to show you those here. So we have anything from, Shaw Butte and Moon Hill and North Mountain up here in the northwest part of this area of the valley, all the way down through Piestewa Peak and even Camelback Mountain. And when that volcanic activity began, based on geologic sampling, it is believed that North Mountain itself, what I'm pointing out right now, was actually the earliest portion of that volcanic activity. So this was from an era called the Proterozoic era. The Proterozoic era was anywhere from, I want to say, 2.6 to 1.6 billion years ago. And so when this range was originally forming, it was underwater, and it was on the southernmost coastline of what was the North American continent at that time, or what consisted of the North American continent at that time. So, not something that you would expect, because there's a lot of other different volcanic formations throughout the Phoenix area that are much younger. But these hills in particular are probably some of the oldest in certainly the valley, but more than likely the state. However, something to keep in mind is that even though this was all submarine at that time, it's very unlikely that you might come across any fossils or anything like that from any kind of underwater life forms that might have existed at that time. But yeah, so we're walking through a space that began at a time that was beyond ancient, which I find really fascinating. All right, so part of this hike for me, besides giving you a tour of the flora, the fauna, and the geology, is also to see how close I can get to the top of the mountain. Before I do, I want to take a little bit of an aside here and show you yet another fairly common cacti that we have out here. These are fishhook barrel cactus, and you'll see them again throughout the Sonoran Desert, but certainly in the Phoenix area you'll see them. When they bloom, they have beautiful yellow flowers, and when those flowers dry, they look like little yellow pineapples sitting on top, almost like forming like a little golden crown on top of the cactus. Here's something else that you should take a look at. This is a hedgehog cactus. This is called an Engelmann's hedgehog. And these Engelmann hedgehogs, when they bloom, they have absolutely beautiful fuchsia flowers that are probably about 2 inches across. And I have an absolutely amazing picture of a large one in this trail from 2 years ago after we had a decent amount of rain, and it was absolutely covered in this amazing, almost technicolor fuchsia blooms all across it. So something else to keep your eyes open for. Anyway, let's continue. So, we're seeing various Palo Verde. I want to say that these are Mexican Palo Verde, but I could be wrong on that. The primary versions of Palo Verde that we have out here are we have Mexican Palo Verde. They tend to be a little bit more straggly looking, but then you also have the blue Palo Verde. And the blue Palo Verde, especially in the springtime, and in particular when we get enough rainfall, the blue Palo Verde are absolutely covered in yellow flowers. And it's this amazing just coat of yellow, and it almost looks like this yellow puffy cloud. And especially against the blue sky background that we have, it's just an amazing sight to see. As long as you're not allergic to them. That's the only potential downside. But I really do hope that we're going to get more rain this year, certainly in this spring, because a lot of the plants that are out here, even though they're very well adapted to the desert environment and to our relatively low rainfall, you can see this creosote bush, this chaparral. These are also something that you can find growing in the Mojave Desert in California. And even the Mojave Desert gets very little rainfall, but these plants still can survive in that environment. But you can see this plant is yellowing, and it's not the only one. The majority of the creosote bush that I've seen so far have yellowing leaves, and that just speaks to the fact that even a desert adapted plant still needs some amount of rainfall that it, has become accustomed to over thousands of years of adaptation. And so between that and various other different cacti and species of plants that have become adapted to this environment that are still struggling, it does leave us with some questions about the long-term effects of these changes. We definitely have had some droughts. Expected, if I remember correctly, that we're somewhere in the midst of a 1,200-year drought. And so, there's that, but there's also other kinds of strange activity like the atmospheric rivers that have gone through California last year. And while initially it seems like something like that might resolve the problem of drought, the problem is consistency. And so, the weather patterns that we really need are those that are consistent enough that we can rely on them for these environments, and also for, agriculture, of course. So, some things to think about. All right. I'm going to stop here for a moment. Take a look at these rocks. And here's something that's truly amazing, is that even these rocks that are essentially bone dry have little lichens on them. And so, you can see that as a certain character from a certain movie with dinosaurs in it might say, life finds a way. That was terrible. I'm never going to do that again. I promise. But even looking down here, you can see, once again, that we have another Engelmann's hedgehog cactus down here. Look at that little guy. Just growing almost out of the rocks. And they'll find whatever foothold that they can, and they'll make do. Amazing. All right. Well, you're some reason my heart rate monitor seems to not be working. I'm going to look at that and see if I can figure out what's going on there. Okay, it is recording, but it's like the widget isn't connecting. Or I don't have my heart rate monitor on the screen right now. Let's check. Yeah, that would help, wouldn't it? There we are. Okay, so I've got a heart rate of 130 right now. And part of my goal for these hikes and seeing if I can get to the top is that it's a fun way for me to get in shape for some trips that are going to be going on later this year. So I want to get my heart rate up, lose some weight, get back some mobility, and take you along for the ride. So yeah, as you can see, nearly every creosote bush that we've come across is starting to yellow. That's really not a good sign. These poor plants need some rain. We're at 149 and on a significant incline. Okay, so stopping again. Here right next to the trail, we have a little fishhook barrel cactus. Look at that guy. You know, it's right next to the trail. Found the space that worked for him, and he's coming along nicely. But still, could go for some rain. All right. See all along these little hillsides, all these little fishhook barrel cactus. This right here looks like it's a dead brittle bush. Brittle bush is an interesting little plant. I actually have two in my front yard. And maybe I'll send you some pictures later on of what they look like. So, yeah. Pause for just a moment. So these gentlemen can walk by. Okay, let's keep moving. Whenever you're going on a hike out in the desert, even here in the relative early spring or winter, make sure you have plenty of water with you and don't take any chances. And certainly once we start getting into the 90s and certainly in the triple digits as far as the heat out here, just don't take any chances. Not a good time to hike for numerous reasons. You know, heat stroke is no joke, and especially if you're out of shape like I am at the moment. Combine heat stroke, lack of water, being out of shape, dangerous combination. It's just not worth it. The other thing I would recommend is wear a heart rate monitor, because you can see him at 158 beats per minute, and I don't know that I want to get above 168 at the very most. That's about where I'm maxing out right now, and I don't really want to go beyond that, because again, you know, you do want to get your heart rate up. You also don't want to push it either. I'm going to switch my hands real quick. So, you know, in short, I guess that means listen to your body. So, anyway, so more creosote bush. Again, it looks like this one is dead, unfortunately. But the creosote bush are the ones that you might see that have... oh no, this is not creosote bush. This is brittle bush. I'm sorry. Brittle have really nice silvery green leaves. And then these little stems right here, these are the remnants of the flower bracts that it sets up. And the flowers are these beautiful yellow daisy looking like flowers. And then when they go to seed, they go to seed like crazy. Seeds spread everywhere, and they try to find a new place to come up with enough rainfall. Another thing that's really interesting about the Brittlebush is that it is in the sunflower family, if I recall correctly. So, definitely a little bit of a different plant, but still really interesting. All right. Where are we on our time? We're at 9:42 at the moment. Let's see how far we can get in 18 minutes. I want to show you some really nice views. Interesting wash and rock formation here. It goes all the way up the hill. We got the radio towers up ahead at the very top. Yeah, if you're looking for a workout, this is a good place to get it. Switch hands again. Looks like our YouTube connection is not working for some reason. Let's see. What was the other thing I wanted to look at? Ah, that's right. Let's see if we can get this thing to work. So once again, we're looking out at some Palo Verde cactus, or trees, with the green skin. Alright. And don't think we have anybody joining us right now. But that's okay. Alright. Let's keep going. Okay. So, if you've never been in the Sonoran Desert, if you're watching this from some other part of the world or some other part of the United States, yeah, hello, little lizard. Can we get a close-up of you? Hello. Hello, lizard. He's not interested in a close-up. Oh, there's another one. Yep, there you go. All right. Yeah, you don't necessarily see a lot of larger reptiles in this area. If you do, they're probably going to be a snake. Hopefully not a rattlesnake. And rattlesnakes don't always let you know that they're there. You might surprise them. So, just keep a very close eye on your feet. Thankfully, during this time of year, it's very unlikely that you'll come across them because it's just not warm enough for them to bother. And then if you want to see chuckwallas, which are a larger lizard, and they have really beautiful coloring on them, like this turquoise throat, those are usually further south, towards the Tucson area. That's where you usually will see the chuckwallas. But let's take a look at that view. Look at that. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my map for a second. And I'm going to focus on just the view forward. There we go. Look at that view. And it's about to get even better. There we go. All right. Let's keep going. This is where it gets really steep, challenging. But again, I'll get your heart rate up. Yeah. Heart rate is definitely climbing quickly. Give some folks a chance to pass by, and then we'll get back on the trail. All right. Let's keep moving. Okay, there we go. And my hands are getting tired. Unfortunately, the rest of the hands-free system isn't ready yet, but it's coming. I'm getting close to the max for my heart rate, so I might need to stop for a minute. But we're getting close to this ridgeline, so take a moment for my heart rate to slow down a little, and we'll get to the top of there, and then you'll be able to see the downtown Phoenix area, straight down the Central Avenue corridor. And then that way you can see that, in fact, we may appear to be in the middle of the desert, but we are surrounded by the city. Whew. Take this side trail over here, since I'm not getting to the top this week. But there it is. We're going to go a little bit further up, and then that way you can see what it looks like from Central. Let's go. Oh, you're not covered the camera. You can actually see me. All right. So here, we're getting a look at another type of cholla that you also see in different parts of the Sonoran Desert, and that's teddy bear cholla. These guys right here are much more densely packed with thorns. These are also referred to as jumping cholla. At least I'm pretty sure they're the same. They may not be. But if you see these little bits that are all over the ground next to it, if this is jumping cholla, and I'm pretty sure it is, you can get an idea of why they call it jumping cholla. These little sections of the cactus will actually dislocate themselves from the main plant and stick to other animals, including humans, as they pass by. Now, I'm not going to get too close to it for all the reasons that I mentioned a moment ago, but definitely another interesting little cacti species, and these guys seem to be doing okay so far. So, let's keep moving. Back to the main trail. Let's see what we can see. Okay, here we are. That road right down there that leads all the way through the downtown area. I'll show you. That is Central Avenue. And so you can see that it extends all the way down into the downtown area and all the way through down to the southern part of the valley. So you get some amazing views up here. Here's some more. So some of these hills over here, let's see if we can match them up. Those are okay. So we're at North Mountain, and we're looking down over at Stony Mountain, and the big tall peak right there in the center of the screen is Piestewa Peak. And if you go further down behind that, you'd be able to see Camelback Mountain. So what we're seeing right here, over here, is Stony Mountain, that whole area. And then again, if we turn around behind us and look at that peak over in the distance that has the radio towers on it, that is Shaw Butte. So as you can see, I'm still a little ways from the top of North Mountain. I've got a ways to go. So, you know, I gotta keep coming at it at least once a week, keep building up to better fitness, enjoying the scenery, and hopefully giving you an opportunity to learn and join me along the way. So that's it for today's and this week's hike. Next week we're going to be hiking. I'm not sure exactly where the next trail is going to be. It could be at Thunderbird, north of us, but it may also be somewhere around Cave Creek. But anyway, I'll keep you posted on the channel. And you know, if you do have other places that you'd like me to hike, you know, let me know, and we'll make it work. As long as it's not too much of a drive, because you know, got to factor that in. Anyway, I'm Kyle Wagner, and this has been another episode of Horizons Land and Sea. And happy hiking and happy learning. Bye.